We're in a world where global growth is too low, where debt levels are high and still rising, and where inflation expectations have fallen sharply and are continuing to fall further.
Europe has faced two big challenges in recent years. The Eurozone financial crisis, the refugee crisis. There's very little evidence to suggest that the Eurozone has effectively managed either of those crises.
We've seen, for example, around the migration crisis that border controls are going back up. You're seeing the rise of UKIP in the UK, and of course you're seeing a lot of protest movements in the southern part of Europe. This is negative. We need to see the policymakers in Europe be bold to keep it together. If they do that, that will allow people to earn more, it allows employment to pick up, but it will also encourage corporate profitability, they'll invest more and they'll hire more. So many of these risks, whether it's economic, cyber risk, politics, geopolitics, they're all interconnected.
In terms of cybercrime and data fraud, the big narrative within Europe was very much a narrative around strength through unity. Europe can do more if it works together. Clearly a lot more is needed in terms of that pan-European cooperation.
Cyber risk continues to be a threat, and companies must work together and collaborate to mitigate some of these risks, which are real and very dynamic.
If the British do decide to vote for Brexit, big questions emerge for Europe. What happens to Greece? What happens to Italy? What happens to Spain and Portugal? Brexit could start a chain of events that would really challenge the core of what the EU is all about.
Of course, it's very important that Europe stays together because this is a great platform for companies within this region to compete on the global stage. We need to do all we can to bolster the growth that we've got in Europe, to bolster the competitive advantage that Europe has, and to bolster that single currency union.
One of the simple realities in Europe at the moment, in particular in the Eurozone, is that political, economic and social integration is not only happening but is gathering pace. That makes EU member states far more interconnected than they ever were. And that brings opportunities, but it also brings a lot of risks and problems.
So companies doing business in Europe must increase resilience to mitigate these interconnected risks. The good news for Europe in 2016 is there's quite a strong cyclical recovery taking place here. Economic activity is picking up and unemployment is coming down. Companies are well positioned to start to invest more. They need to invest more in their products, but they can do that. Funding costs are very low, and provided they get access to that capital, there's a huge opportunity for European companies to take advantage of that and to increase their competitive advantage over their global peers.